morning to you. Thank you so very much for joining us here on Global Morning. This is Global Television. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. It's an amazing, second day of the business week upon us already. I'm Uyi Agmofwegbe, and the lady who, for whatever reason, decided to come in red today, Jumai Rekia Mansi.
Really?
Yes, defy the rain. Today she is here. The rain has nothing on you, Jumai.
It has nothing on me. Well, it's great to be here. Good morning to each and every one of you out there. Good morning. He has already called my middle name. I am Jumai Rekia Mansi. And it's great to be here. It's a Tuesday rainy morning. And you know, by the way, this is my best weather, right?
Feels great, doesn't it?
Amazing. I'm excited. I'm pumped. Like, I love the fact, I love rain. Funny enough, I love the fact that you can just...
the hot season.
You get it, right? So that's it. I love the rain. I love when it's cold. I love it. I love it so much. It's just a time to just reflect how great and how big God is. You know, just look at the skies, the rain, water coming.
Vegetation.
It's big. It's something to be thankful and grateful for. I love the rain. I know some of you that love, just take coffee or tea. I'm not a big fan though, but I just love the sound of rain. I love rain.
We've got to do what we've got to do.
Yes, exactly.
Right. There's somebody mentioned this morning in passing that in showers of blessings.
Yes, it is.
For some of us, this is the first time we're experiencing rain in that real sense this year, even though in some parts of the south it had already been raining for months now.
Oh, yes.
In Abuja, for many residents, is the first rain for the year, and as such, they see it as a blessing. And you've got to take them very seriously in that, because they believe that is a wonderful way to start the year. And for many people, 2026 has just started on account of this morning's rain.
Yes, exactly. But the thing is, rain, there were a bit of shower here and there.
Across the other parts.
Yes,
in the city center, this is major, really.
This is really major. I was driving this morning, I was like, what is this?
So much of flooding, right?
So much, as in it was so much. I was at a point, I said, should I just park the car and just wait it out or something? But I was like, no, you know how it is. The job must go on. So but it was really heavy for my axis down here. It was really, really heavy. But I think it's since last night.
Since last night, right?
Since last night. God is great.
It's the kind of rain that you can't predict, really. So rather than wait for it to abate or stop altogether, you plan around it.
You have to.
And find a way to outsmile the rain. Yeah. I'm sure that's what some of us have decided to do this morning. Right?
Yes, really. Yes.
Adult life, they call it.
Adult life,
Right. It's a little program, quite frankly, but what can we do? The rain notwithstanding, we're going to bring a big conversations in the course of the show today. A lot is happening in the field of politics already. Yesterday, big defection in Kano State. The opposition is getting a bit more formidable by the day. Even the APC acknowledges that much at this point in time. But quite interestingly, we understand that most of those governors are still on the side of the APC. So what can the opposition really do about those? We'll talk about all of these issues again this morning. And then we'll talk about what you can do about the rain to look after yourself in terms of protecting yourself from cold. What are some of the common, if you like, health challenges associated with this kind of weather? Yes, by nature, there are people who want to sleep in, spend a longer time in bed. Yes. Especially where you're self-employed or you are in the gig economy. But then, what can you really do to, as it were, manage this season for your health, for your work, your personal development, and everything else? We'll also talk about all of those. And of course, one of the fears people nurse around this time is the flooding challenge, ecological problems.
Exactly. And the fact that we still go back and forth when it comes to these issues of flooding. We are I will tell you that in the course of Global Morning, it's a predict. I know that we're going to talk about flooding in some parts of Nigeria. We're going to talk about the same when it comes to Bayelsa, Kogi, and all of these places, because that is what it is. When the rain starts, there are floods everywhere, and when it's dry season, we do not take precautionary measures. We just, and then I hope we do not hear anything about the dam, the bursting dam and all of that causing the overflow, causing people to lose their lives and properties, God forbid. But at the same time, you see, all these things have to be put in measures. It's very important that we take precautionary measures, and we keep going back and forth. I hope it's not a norm. I don't want to say it's a norm. It's a beautiful Tuesday rainy morning.
It is.
I don't want to say.
It sure is.
I don't want to say otherwise.
If I were you, I'll make one very important decision to stay on Global Morning today. That way, you'll get a return on investments on whatever amount of time you're spending with us on the show. We're taking a quick break. When we return, so much to unpack on the show. Do stay with us.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
We appreciate you staying with us here on the program. Yesterday was a big day in Kano. No, this was not about Salah. It was not about any form of such commemoration. It was about politics, and this time big politics. For many people, the ADC has caught a big fish. What that simply means is that the man who has for a long time been referred to as the powerhouse of Kano politics, especially as it has to do with the Kwankwasia movement, talking about engineer Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, himself a former governor of the state, has now moved from his beloved NNPP, the New Nigeria People's Party, to the ADC. So yesterday, Jumai, we were not surprised to see the likes of former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi,
Of course.
former president of the Senate, David Mark, quite a number of other people, all of them converging on Kano just to join in celebrating the defection of this quote-unquote big fish coming into their party. It's been a long time coming. There have been speculations. Will he move? Will he remove? Will he remain? Will he move to the APC? What are the chances he will join the ADC? But yesterday, the man not only joined the ADC, he flashed his membership card.
Exactly.
He's official now. I've cleared your doubts.
I've cleared your doubts. I'm now.
Right. So again, this is not just about Kano, it's about Nigeria generally, in terms of how the political landscape has changed and will continue to change into and beyond the election day. But then for Kano, it's a peculiar kind of politics, because we always hear that the politics of Kano is only understood by the people of Kano. And it's also the reason you realize that every time during the general election cycle, results from states like Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Kano are sort of sacred, so to speak, because these are the swing states, as they say in the United States. But then Kano doesn't look like it's going to remain the same on account of this defection.
No, it cannot.
There are powerful figures in Kano politics, quite frankly. You have also former governor of the state talking about His Excellency Abdullahi Gandhi, yes, who had also been the national chairman of the APC, another powerhouse when it comes to Kano politics. Now, these are gentlemen who swing, so to speak, the direction of the politics of that state. As it stands today, the APC that had also been favored, politically speaking, by that state, now needs to do more work, because with a guy like, Kwankwaso moving to the ADC,
it's a big deal.
Yes, so as it stands, the scale has sort of tilted.
And the truth is, without much further ado to what you've just said, of course you know that when it comes to the 2027 election, of course you know the Kano State vote is tilting towards the ADC, because
they call it the block votes.
The block vote, because we know that, of course, His Excellency Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is a big deal when it comes to the people of Kano. He's someone that is well respected. It's the Kwankwasia movement. Are you kidding me?
They call it cult following.
Cult following. So it's a big deal. So be rest assured that ADC, this is Jumai's prediction now. They have the vote of the Kano people, believe it or not.
You know, I spoke with some APC guys off camera, and they tell me that, look, we are very confident, we're optimistic, we're all beats about Kano, but it's going to be a tough fight.
Very tough.
Our party must put its best foot forward our party must be very clear, very determined, very strategic. We can't decide to bring in sentiments, emotions, and biases at this time. We must understand that the game has changed, and as such, we must re-engineer our sort of methods to ensure that we align with the reality of today's kind of politics.
Yes.
And to make it even more interesting, we understand that the gentleman who has stood for election for governor in Kano in 2023 on the platform of the APC, Honorable Garuna, has now resigned his membership
Oh, yes, he has.
of the board chairmanship of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. That happened yesterday. And for many people, that's only a precursor to his leaving the APC to join the ADC. Now, the postulation is, if he does move, which is likely going to happen, it means he's going to allow the ADC. If he does that, then there's a pretty good chance he's going to get a ticket of the ADC, in which case he's going to stand head-to-head against the incumbent governor, talking about Kabir Abba Yusuf in 2027. So when these two gentlemen get in the ring in 2027, the question is, in whose favor will the pendulum swing?
Well, that is food for thought. But at the same time, but you know, like for me, I know we have the Kwakwasiya movement when it comes
Right.
to His Excellency Rabbi Musa Kwankwaso. But you see, a lot of people, for as much as they saw this coming, that because there were speculations and all of that, but you know, politics is a game that sometimes is unpredictable.
Right,
We do
right.
not know, but at the same time, we can only predict because of what we've seen, the numbers. We can only predict because of his followers. We can only predict because he has a hold when it comes to the people of Kano.
Right.
He's well respected, and for the fact that he carries individuals along. A lot of people say so well about him. That's why, like we said, the call to Kwakwasiya movement. But at the same time, politics is a game that sometimes you just cannot predict. We do not know, but at the same time, we just have to fingers crossed and see what this brings to the table, basically.
Right.
So we do not know whether it's between the APC and, of course, the ADC. Let's see.
Politics is quite interesting, really.
Very.
But again, this is just pretty much the beginning, Jumai, because you have other political parties who may not be very loud at this point, but as we inch closer to 2027, you're going to see them actually popping up from all corners. Of course, as expected, there will be a series of alignments and realignments.
Yes.
You're going to see politicians switching sides, all right? Of course, the PDP will be a big player again this time. How far they will go, we can't be sure at this point.
Exactly.
But they will also be a strong influence in this election, electionary process. But then again, within the ADC, there's still the question of who will likely emerge the presidential candidate of
Exactly,
the party.
yes.
We're hearing consensus now.
And of course, rumors of fake news that, of course, I read this morning that the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar, has decided to halt his ambition when it comes to be the president. And he says, please, that is false.
I'm still in the game.
I'm still in the game. So if he's still in the game, he has interest, and a lot of bigwigs in the ADC have that particular interest. So let's just see what this brings and see how there should be a balance when it comes to the presidential race.
You know, it's again another challenge, quite frankly, because as it stands right now, you're asking yourself, if our former Vice President Atiku Abubakar stays in the game, as it were, within the ADC, in which case, of course, he wants to become president in 2027. And then you have Peter Obi also is craving that ticket.
Exactly.
And then you have a gentleman like former River State Governor Rotimi Chibike Amechi,
yes,
who wants that ticket as well. So these are at least 3 persons. Now the question is, if you're going to go with consensus, how do you determine of these 3 gentlemen who becomes your flag bearer in 2027? All right. Now, if you pick an Atiku Abubakar, for example, does that still guarantee, under those circumstances, the support and loyalty of people like Obi and Amechi? Because it's not just about picking your candidate. Those other persons who have been aspiring will they throw their weights altogether behind whoever emerges? Because that's one of the problems with political parties. Multiple people, a handful of people have interest in a particular office or ticket, and then one person now clenches it at the end of the day. It now becomes a binary kind of situation.
Yes.
It's either those who have actually wanted the same ticket decide to say, well, we all can't win this ticket, so now that this particular person has emerged, less support.
There are weights behind it.
We feel cheated, we feel sidelined, we feel undermined, and as such, we may not leave this party, but we're going to ensure that we do not support this candidate either. So the ADC will also have to resolve that and resolve early enough, otherwise all of this will be exercise in futility.
Yes, and of course there have been rumors that there are internal crises in the ADC. I'm sure they will want to douse all of that, and I don't think they want to start something like what is going on in what happened in the PDP, the internal crisis between the Turkey-led faction.
So you think they've learned a lesson from that?
Of course, it's an example for people to see and follow. If you cannot solve your internal crisis within your party, you want to rule us as Nigerians? Are you kidding me? So I'm sure they would not want all of that. Whoever becomes the presidential candidate under the flagship of the ADC, I'm sure they will put their weight around it, because it's not all about them now. It's all about Nigeria and the people and Nigerians. So it's very important that people learn from that. We learn from all of these things, and that is why now with this convention that just happened on Sunday, now people see PDP as with Wike coming on board, there is hope. Some people will say they just got started. Let's see what this will bring. I'm sure a lot of political parties are watching, and they do not want their names to be thrown under the dirt. And of course, they've learned a lesson, realizing that, hey, it's not about us now. It's all about what we will bring to make a difference in Nigeria, and of course, in the upcoming elections. So I'm sure they have learned, and I'm sure they put their weight behind whoever aspires as the presidential candidate.
Well, I think there's so much we'll be talking about in the months ahead, because things are just beginning to jump off now within the Nigerian political landscape. We're taking a quick break. Ramsey Enoch Agbo is standing by with his usual heart-to-heart inspirational.
Hello and welcome to another time of inspirational. We need to talk heart to heart. Do you know it's very important for you to know that you are more than what you see yourself to be? Most times, a lot of people downgrade themselves, but you are more than what you see. As far as your eyes can see it, you can seize it actually. Many people judge their lives based on what they can currently see. But what you are currently seeing is nothing compared to what you can become in the nearest future. The bank account, their title, their environment. But what if I tell you that your present condition is not accurate measurement of your true capacity? Would you believe that? If I tell you now that your current situation, your current condition is nothing compared to your original capacity and who God has destined you to be, would you doubt that? Let me inform you that what you see today is only a snapshot, not the full picture yet, all right? Inside you is more intelligence than you've used, all right? Your level of intelligence, you've not even used a half of it. More creativity than you've expressed, and more courage than you've assessed. Circumstances can hide potential. In case you don't know, circumstances can hide potential. When you have the opportunity, you get to some environment and you exhibit some form of potential, you would be wondering, am I the one doing this? But they can never erase it. All right, the circumstances can never erase the potentials on your inside. Seeds don't look like forests, foundations don't look like a building, and preparation doesn't look like success, but they are all connected. Too many people quit because they evaluate themselves too early. That evaluation is too early. You concluded on yourself too early. That's what I mean. And as a matter of fact, let me give you this illustration that an unpolished diamond looks like an ordinary stone. Its value is not obvious until pressure and refinement reveal what was already there. That's what it is. Okay, so you need to stop underestimating yourself. That is one. Separate yourself and your identity from your environment. Your environment and your background does not have the capacity to put your back on the ground, except if you decide to bury yourself. And I'll let you know that you need to commit to personal growth daily. Every day, do something to improve on yourself. It could be study. It could be talking with your mentors. It could be, as a matter of fact, dropping pride and talking to people that you know are more knowledgeable than you are. Pride has destroyed a lot of people. People claim to know everything when they know nothing. And people like that are becoming nuisance to the society, to the family, to their workplaces, to wherever they find themselves. But never judge your value by your visibility. All right, you are more than your current result. Stay committed. What's inside you is still unfolding gradually, and you need to keep learning. You keep refining it. You keep building on it, so that the day of your manifestation there won't be mistakes. But a lot of people don't even care about refining themselves. But it's very important for you to know that you need what it takes. You need it. There is something. Every prize that you get today, there is a price for every prize. I don't know if you get that. So everything you're doing today, you're going to a destination. There is a place you're heading to, and there are prices you need to pay. You can't jump the process and get to your destination. It is a matter of time. Just take your time, settle down, and don't limit yourself to what the condition, the circumstances telling you at this point in time. Remember, there is always a manual for you. All right, follow that manual. If you don't know what your manual is, you can always ask God, what do you want me to do next? What about me? You know, people around you, you can ask them, talk to people, your potentials. There are a lot of people who have potentials on their inside that they don't even know they have such potentials. What am I talking about? You have what it takes, all right, to be who you are created to be. Instead of envying, instead of backbiting, instead of you condemning people because they are better than you, you need to sit down, get to the drawing board, and of course commit yourself to the assignment that makes a man. Congratulations to everyone. I know you've been inspired. We're talking heart to heart because we care, because your success is of a paramount importance to us. Well, I want to tell you that you are a success going somewhere to happen, and just decide within you that you are unstoppable. If not until you stop yourself, nothing will stop you. Congratulations. See you at the other side of success, and I wish you all the best. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye for now.
Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On Global Television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast, real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
Hello and nice to have you with us once more. We expect the month of March to end on a high note weather-wise as we have increased prospects of rains across most parts of the country. We expect thunderstorms to affect the northeast up to Borno and Yobe, down into Gombe, Bauchi, and much of the central states, where we expect ample rains around the Federal Capital Territory, southern Kaduna, and parts of Kogi into the southwest. We also have prospects of thunderstorms to the southern part of the country, with ample rains expected over the coastal parts of the south and parts of its inland areas. Cases of flash flooding are not unlikely over parts of the south, parts of the central state, speaking of the Federal Capital Territory and its environs. This rain should bring maximum temperatures down a little, giving relief from the heat that's been on the ground. That's it from here. Thank you for watching, and see you again.
All right, you are welcome back. And if you're just tuning in, this is Global Morning on Global Television. And have you missed a lot? Not really, but of course you missed the inspirational with Ramsey Enoch Agbo. That's the Heart to Heart segment. And I hope you were inspired by it. And about this time is the newspaper review segment. And we're going to start with the first paper of the day. It's the Blueprint newspaper. And above the nameplate, it says Nigeria to launch 2 satellites in 2028, 2029, and that's from NICOMSAT MD. Now below that, it says here, Open Commission's new office in Jos. And beside that, it says 2027, Foreign Affairs Humanitarian Ministers resign. And moving on now, it says, the Star story says, Northern Governor sets up security fund, back state police. And we have 3 riders there. It says here, troops repel ISWAP attack, kill 38 in Borno. Mufwang imposes curfew in Plateau over Palm Sunday mayhem. Bandits assault claims 13 wedding guests in Kaduna, scores abducted. And below that, it says here, court bars Turaki-led PDP from National Secretariat. And here it says, INEC recognizes Wike back to leadership. I think everyone should just come together and make the best out of the whole thing. Now it says, Zenith Bank unifies premium banking with signature card. And it says NPA proposes 1.489 trillion naira revenue for 2026. Kano clerk sentenced to death for blasphemy, petitions CJN. And at the foot of the paper, it says Trump suggests seizing Iran's oil, probably take Carrick Island, and that read is on page 19. Basically, that's all on the Blueprint newspaper. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the issues making rounds. Next, we have the New Telegraph. Over to you, Lee.
All right, thank you, Jumai. Let's see what's new on the Telegraph this morning. Top above the name mast, it says first quarter 2026, Nigerian exchange ranks second best among global markets. That's quite a landmark for us. Posts 29.3 trillion naira gain. Right, reports Nigeria's crude oil exports to US drops by 47%. That's almost half of the volume that the United States normally purchases from us. Again, we have the global energy crisis to thank for this. And back at home, this will have a bite, no doubts about it. Hopefully, we continue to think around diversifying our economy in real terms. All right, the big headline here says, government kill 53 in Plateau Market. Cardinal wedding ceremony attacks. You can't read this and not feel some chills running down your spine.
Exactly.
It has 4 riders here. It says troops eliminate 38 insurgents, repel ISWAP attack in Borno. Nigeria can't keep bleeding. Christian Association of Nigeria, Christian leaders, the ones to whom that is credited. U.S. lawmaker condemns killings, urges action. Benue, Fulani must go protest, rocks Agatu ahead farming season. Nigerians yet to see effect of increased defense budgets. Well, the opposition party ADC talking there. But you should by all means read all these details on pages 7, 27, 29, 30, and 31. Atiku debunks claim of quitting politics. For those of you who followed that story, the former vice president said it was fake news.
I'm going over there.
Yes, I'm here. All right.
Here.
Check me out. All right, Patsy, future pandemics inevitable. Nigeria must invest in preparedness. That's Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Muhammad Patti, talking on page 7 of the New Telegraph this morning. Zulum dissolves Borno Executive Council. Kwankwaso, we recorded membership surge since Sunday, says ADC on pages 6 and 27 as ex-Kano governor officially joins party. 2 writers say defection not a surprise, NNPP scribe. Mark, APC threatened to, APC threats to multi-party democracy in Nigeria. PDP crisis, Abuja court restrains to Akin-led faction from National Secretariat. It's getting heated up already. The writers tell us, weakest factions convention, contempt of courts, PDP only party to present credible alternative to Nigerians. That's Saraki talking, all of these gentlemen, on pages 5 and 7. And then to the foot of the front page where I usually find my favorites. High antioxidant intake may harm offspring. I'm sure this is particularly speaking to pregnant women, right? Says high intake of antioxidants may harm offspring. All right, that's what you find on page 30 of the New Telegraph this morning. Please, I know it's a rainy day, but talk in a plan to read all these details for yourself as we move to the next paper this morning, the Daily Monitor.
All right, the Daily Monitor, above the nameplate, says Nigeria targets 7% GDP growth, $14 billion annual infrastructure investment, and that's from Edun. And below that, it says here, 2027, how we plan to reduce Peter Obi's influence in the South. APC Deputy Chair, and that's on page 2. And of course, a picture of the Director, Bureau of Public Procurement, Dr. Adebowale Adedokun. He says, BPP to INEC, fix procurement, secure Nigeria's electoral integrity. And next on page 2, again, it says here, court bars Suraki-led PDP fraction from assessing National Secretariat. And on page 4, it says 2027, don't destroy Nigeria, Okonkwo, Orisija for others, tell politicians. And the Star story on the Daily Monitor says, we'll neutralize emerging security threats. That's from the northern governors. And we have two riders there. It says, two conscious efforts will be made to ensure that peace, security take firm root across the region. And it says, insist region at forefront of conversation around creation of state police. And it says here, Mufwang urges calm amidst attack, rising tension in Jos. And there are two riders. It says, police confirmed 26 dead, 3 injured from attack on Jos community. Christian Association of Nigeria condemns horrific Palm Sunday killings. Don't we all? And of course, those are the major headlines on the Daily Monitor. Please go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast with the major issues making rounds. Next is the Daily Trust.
All right, on the Daily Trust, first of all, besides the big one, Plateau death toll rises to 27 as residents recount ordeal. As expected, this is a big story across major dailies this morning, as sad as it is. All right, let's see. Those are still developing issues, quite frankly. But let's go take a look at a few more headlines for you. Not much of them, though. Mark Obi others received Kwankwaso into ADC. Then 3 headlines on the foot of the front page. How 13 wedding guests were killed in Kaduna. What you should know about tax filing as deadline ends today. It's March 31 already. For those of you who thought this day would never come, now you know what time it is. All right. Protest hits South Africa streets over installation of Nigerian king. Can you be that, Jumai? I mean, you've got a king, a Nigerian king in South Africa.
Really?
It's interesting. You know, we have had these quite a bit of friction with South Africa,
yes,
right? Even though we're supposed to be brothers, right? A few years ago, we were dealing with xenophobia in that country.
Yes.
At a point, both governments had to find a way to dialogue around it. And we thought that would be the end, or at least for a very long time. But a couple of years down the line, we're back here again. We had seen protests last week, especially in areas around Durban, where you have a very large Nigerian community, yes. And the protesters, very coordinated, said that, look, Nigerians are taking our jobs, Nigerians are running us out of the market.
Taking our markets.
I was praying you won't go there.
But that was what they said. I didn't say it. They said it.
I feel like winning alone on this show, but I won't do that yet.
But that was what they said. But that was what they said.
They mentioned that. Yes. I mean, we have those sound bites where we talked about Nigerians taking their everything.
Everything, their women, their jobs, their political appointments, their white-collar jobs.
Nigerians becoming more influential than the nationals there. All right, so for them, those are concerns, and that's why they had to take to the streets to protest.
And a lot of Nigerians were killed and hurt, by the way.
Of course, they were. I mean, what can we do about that? They only came there to work or school, but these other guys, they own the country,
yes, they do.
And things like that. But you see, we must find a way to ask ourselves, what are the root causes of this sort of thing? What's the underlying factor driving it? All right, we must address those. Otherwise, like we always say in the field of medicine, you'll be treating symptoms instead of dealing with cause. I think that's where we are right now. So if we're going to continue to have these xenophobic sort of, if you like, tendency every now and then we need to ask ourselves, how do we ensure that for every Nigerian who travels to South Africa, whether to visit for a short period or they are there to settle, whether alone or with family, that they are safe is very important, right? What exactly do we need to do to address that? It must be a conversation, big time, between Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry and the South African authorities. And again, this is where the Nigerian Diaspora Commission needs to step up its game in terms of how do we disrupt this cycle, so to speak. But there's so much you can talk about this issue. But in the meantime, just know that one of us has been made a king in South Africa. How that happened, what kind of kingdom this particular individual will operate or lead from, we are not so sure. But those are your headlines from the don't trust the newspaper this morning. Please be sure to read up details so you don't miss the context. All right. Next port of call is the Vanguard newspaper.
All right, the Vanguard newspaper, and on page 8 it says, before we get to page 8, it says why we're targeting 7% annual GDP growth, and that's from Edu, and that's on page 20. And then on page 8 reads 2027 polls. Tugger Sanu resigned from Tinubu's cabinet, and it says Gawuna quits as FMB and board chair to pursue Kano governor bid. And on page 8 it says Kwankwaso APC, most dangerous threat to democracy, and that's from David Mark. And it says take 2027 polls seriously, Kwankwaso. And on page 8 again it says PDP crisis, court bars Turaki-led faction from National Secretariat. And the writer says court to decide validity of Wike-backed PDP convention, Makinde's camp. And you see this particular caption speaks volume for the court barring Turaki-led faction from the National Secretariat.
Right.
It shows that all recognition has been given to
the Wike faction of the party.
Faction of the party. So it's better.
Right.
Everyone, like Wike said, let's just put our differences aside, come together for the betterment of the party. I think that's the way forward. I think let's move on. And the star story on page 5 says U.S. lawmaker warns over Plateau Kaduna killing, and we have a bunch of writers here. It says continued killing of Christians could strain U.S.-Nigeria relations. I agree. Terrorists kill 40 in Plateau. Kaduna attacks. Governor declares 48 hours curfew in Plateau. Unijust reschedules exams. MBF warns citizens armed. Accuses DSS director of intimidation. Northern governors back Tinubu's security strategy for region. And there's a big picture here. It says Governor Mufwang meets bereaved families in Plateau. Very sad read there. And basically, of course, my favorite, before I get to my favorite on page 19, it says electricity liquidity crisis worsens as FG pays 4% of 1.9 trillion naira subsidies. And my favorite part is the Mr. and Mrs. So please go out and get yourself a copy of the Vanguard newspaper and be well abreast with the issues making the rounds. And next we have The Guardian. Over to you, Uwe.
Thank you so very much, Jumai. Well, the three headlines that just immediately underneath the nameplate out of corner says consumers groan as egg costs 8,500 naira per crate. How did we get there?
How did we get there?
It was 6,000 not too long ago, and I was even shocked at that price. But now here's 8,500. Should I be shocked or traumatized?
I think just be shocked, don't be traumatized.
Thank you. I mean, that's what I wanted to hear. But it's all right. So let's move on. Federal government gets approval of US, UK, others on new ambassadors. ADC Lord Kwankwaso's defection as game changer. Politicians are in game. They are 5 and 6. Then the big one. Ministers develop code feats over state politics. Delayed endorsements. Again, that's the all big one from the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning. On page 6 is where you have those details. All right, and then right end of the front page as well. It says federal government awards 15 million naira each to 45 students innovators. That's under the purview of the Ministry of Digital Economy, Innovation and Communication. All right, ADC bicker over national issues, government's response. 2027, Zulum dissolves cabinets in Borno. PDP crisis, more leaders dump party as Makinde's camp heads to Supreme Court. That's on page 6, all right? Violent protests in South Africa over a controversial Igbo coronation, all right? Well,
am I surprised?
That naturally should spark some reaction. Really.
Yes.
Well, let's see what we have in food of it. It says Igodalo Orisaja for others seek state of emergency on economy, insecurity. That's on news page 7. You know, I've spoken with people about insecurity over time, and some of them are saying that if we could declare a state of emergency in a place like Rivers, over a political situation, should we not have done that long before today on insecurity, which is squarely an issue of life and death?
Yes, it is.
But I'm not putting you on the spot to speak on behalf of the federal government. I'm just saying we can give this a thought for a second.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, please read up all those details this morning from the Guardian newspaper. Next port of call is the Punch newspaper.
All right, the Punch newspaper giving us some very punchy headlines, in the words of Mr. Uyi. And on page 44, it says here 2027, 2 ministers resign to contest elections. And on page 44, it says Canada hikes resident citizenship fee for Nigerians, others. And on page 44 again, it says here INEC OK's Wike PDP block, court bars Turkey. And on at the side of the Punch nameplate, it says Kwakwaso ADC gears up for 2027 showdown with Tinubu, and that's on page 3. And the Star story reads, military gets 2.3 trillion naira special funding amid security crisis. And we have three riders there. It says 100 billion naira monthly disbursement to security agencies. And then it says again 450 billion naira non-regular allowance for armed forces. Outrage as bandits kill 40 in Jos, Kaduna. And then below that it says here on page 38, 5 fuel vessels arrive Lagos amid supply worries. And on pages 4 and 5 it says violence erupts in South Africa over alleged Igbo king coronation. Am I surprised? No. On page 44, it says Leadership Editor-in-Chief bags NUJ Award. And basically, those are all the major headlines on the Punch newspaper. Go out and get yourself a copy and be well abreast. Next, we have the First Daily.
All right, let's take a look at the First Daily quickly. For you know, it says just in the nameplate on the First Daily newspaper. A U.S. lawmaker raises alarm over Plateau killings, warns of diplomatic fallouts on the First Daily newspaper. The big one with Akika, mega move. Kwankwaso dumps NNPP, joins ADC as opposition unites against Tinubu. Fani Kayode denies rejection from German ambassadorial post, and the man says it's fake news. It is his enemies who are not happy with his appointment as an ambassador by President Bola Tinubu who are out of work, and he says shame on them, right? Gunmen massacre 12 in fresh Jos attack. Some of the report says it's 13, but the important thing ultimately is that precious lives have been lost here, right? Boniface returns to Bremen after injury layoff, begins individual training. Violent protest erupts in South Africa over Igbo king coronation. Man bags 30 years imprisonment over $62,500, 36,020 pound fraud in Lagos. That's a lot of money, just so we know, right? EFCC arrests company staff over 993 million naira fraud in Kwara. And finally, government court admits video evidence in Yawata killings trial. These are all the headlines we have from the First Daily newspaper for you today. The last one, incidentally, is the Nation newspaper, and Juma has those headlines for us.
All right, now the Nation newspaper on page 2, it says Atiku, Mark Obi, others receive Kwakwaso. And on page 3, it says INEC recognizes Mohammed-led PDP NWC. And the writer there says Turaki's group kicks. And on page 29 says renewed hope ambassadors spread to grassroots. And on page 4 it says North governors raise regional security trust fund. All right, now the Star story on the Nation, it says 2027 minister, commissioners, board chairman, others resign. And it says Taga, Gawuna, officials in Edo, Nasarawa, Ondo quit. Zulum dissolves ESCO. And it says here National Assembly set to pass 2026 appropriation bill. And on the foot of the Nation, it says Ahmed Tokum arrests 11 kidnapped suspects, 24 others in Ondo Ayedatiwa Sachs 308, and that read you will find on page 5. And basically, that is it on the newspaper review segment on Global Morning. But note that Global Morning crew has no input whatsoever when it comes to the editorial judgment of the papers. It's just brought to you the way it was printed and was read exactly how it is. And of course, it's still Global Morning on Global Television. Up next is Social Buzz with Ogochukwu Movodo. Stay tuned.
The Renewed Hope Network, TRN, under the leadership of Senator Abdulaziz Yari, proudly facilitate with our President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, a visionary leader, a symbol of progress on the occasion of his 74th birthday, a man whose courage inspires hope, whose leadership drives transformation, whose vision is shaping a stronger Nigeria. Today, we honor your dedication, we salute your resilience, we salute your unwavering commitment to the Renewed Hope agenda. Happy birthday, Mr. President. May your years be filled with strength, wisdom, and greater achievements for our nation. Signed, the Renewed Hope Network, TRN, under the leadership of Senator Abdulaziz Yari.
Happy birthday to you. When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Good morning, Nigerians and viewers around the world. It's time to look at buzzing issues making rounds on social media. A troubling narrative is sparking fresh concerns
can you hear me now?
Nigerian justice. Tobin account alleging that was detained for months over an offense she did not commit, but one allegedly linked to her brother. The story has ignited conversations around abuse of power, wrongful detention, and the urgent need for justice reforms in the country. A Nigerian lawyer has recounted a shocking case that highlights deep concerns within the nation's justice system. According to the lawyer, a young girl was reportedly held in prison custody for about 4 to 5 months, not for any crime she committed, but allegedly because of an offense linked to her brother. Expressing frustration over the incident, the lawyer stated that in Nigeria, once someone is targeted, they could be made to face consequences regardless of their innocence, and often nothing is done about it. The account raises serious questions about due process, accountability, and the protection of fundamental human rights. It is also underscores growing public concerns about the misuse of authority and the vulnerability of ordinary citizens within the system. Many Nigerians are now calling for stronger oversight, judicial transparency, and reforms to ensure that justice is not only served, but seen to be served fairly. Let's take a look at this very short clip.
Nobody wants to deal with you in Nigeria. Like, they would deal with you and nothing would happen. And they would use the law to deal with you very, very well. Now, so a few years ago, this was about 4 years ago, I was at the magistrate court that day, and a young lady was arraigned before the magistrate court for the offense of grievous bodily harm. So her counsel stood up and told the court that this lady did not commit the said offense, that it was her brother that allegedly committed the said offense. He was praying the court to strike out the charge against her because she was not the alleged perpetrator of the offense. The magistrate now said, counsel, it's because it is not your brother that they injured like that. That her directive is that the matter be transferred to the DPP's office for further directive, and the lady is hereby remanded at the correctional center. They sent her to prison. So the magistrate remanded her in prison, as God would have it. So a month later, I was at the Ministry of Justice. So her file, coincidentally, was on my friend's table. I looked at the file and I was like, I know this case now. It's that lady that her brother did something and then she was not arrested in lieu. That is this matter, that the girl did not do anything. I gave my opinion and it corroborated her statement and everything. That was how this girl went though. But this was after she had spent like 4-5 months at the correctional center. So in Nigeria, if somebody wants to deal with you, they will deal with you. They will deal with you, to be very honest. Even though she had the cause of action to institute a case for malicious prosecution, yes, she had that cause of action, but I'm sure she did not even explore that. But welcome to Nigeria, where anything can happen and nobody gets questioned for it. Sad.
I will just have to take a deep breath before start analyzing this. But then before I welcome the person I have with me in the studio, let's take a bit of comments from social media as regards this topic. And the first comment is coming from I Am Halop. And Halop says, a confirmation that our justice system is no longer the hope of a common man. All right, thank you, Halop. Next comment is coming from Dr. Ayo Reflects. And Dr. Ayo says, this is painful to watch, not because it is new, but because it keeps repeating. The real question is how we build a system where justice is not selective and no one is powerless. All right, thank you, Dr. Ayo. The last but not the least for today is coming from Tobems. And Tobems says, the judiciary itself is faulty if such a judgment can be passed on someone who did not commit an offense. All right, thank you everyone who dropped their comment concerning this, and also for others who are going to drop their comments using the social media handles we have here on your screen is Global TV NG. All right, I'm not alone in the studio. I have with me Jumai Manson. Good morning, Jumai.
Good morning, Ogochukwu. How are you doing today?
Very well. It's a cold, beautiful morning. I loved my sleep already.
I love the way you said that.
All right, so we're talking about the judicial system, and of course, you know, when we were watching the video, you're like, this lady. What do you think about what she just said? Because this is someone roasting her profession because she saw something and she had to say something.
Exactly. But of course, we know what the judiciary, they say it's the hope of the common man, but with the comments we heard that they say it's not the hope of the common man. There's still a big lacuna when it comes to issues like that. That's why most people are scared to associate themselves with individuals who have committed crime or related to individuals who have committed crime, because if they are nowhere to be found, you are the next target and you will pay for the sins of that individual. So people are very careful, but I feel it's unfair. It's uncalled for that another individual who knows nothing about the issue at hand is being held in Kirikiri. And once you get to Kirikiri, She
stayed 4 to 6 months in prison.
In fact,
that's nothing.
For nothing. It's really sad. What happens to our fundamental human rights as individuals? It's just unfortunate that this is what it is, and it's just unfortunate. It's very sad though, and I think due process is supposed to be taken up. I think we need to look into that particular case. It's very unfair and it's sad.
Yes, it is sad. It's a sad one, honestly, because, I get to look at it from, the lady's part. You can imagine going to jail for something you did not do, an offense you did not commit. But I'm also happy that it's a law that's actually addressing the problem, because sometimes when you get to say it as a citizen, just a normal citizen, they'll tell you, oh, you're judging because you don't know what it takes.
You don't know how the process
you don't know the process. Now, this is someone who was in court when it happened. So she went through. She is a lawyer. She went through the case. She's also there with them. She got through. She got to see the judgment and all of that. And she's saying, you know what? There's somewhere that we have a big gap, and it's not supposed to be like that. So she's the one addressing us. So I'm not even feeling bad about it, honestly, because this is a lawyer saying it as it is. But again, some persons are saying this lawyer might actually get penalized for coming out to say it this way, because it's more like, speaking against your own profession.
And roasting your own profession.
What do you think about that?
You know how it works. Like she said it before, if someone wants to deal with you in this country, they will follow it to the letter and deal with you. But I'm sure some persons will be very careful in order not to bring unnecessary attention to themselves. But at the same time, if someone wants to deal with you in this country, so read between the lines.
I think everyone is tired of hanging on the fence. I watched a video recently. The actor, he came out and he said, you know what? I'm tired. What is it tired of? He said, when you get into Nollywood, they tell you do not support so and so. Don't be for any party. You just have to be neutral. They tell you don't talk about the politics because you have to be neutral. Exactly. Don't talk about the government. Don't talk about this because you have to be neutral. But he said he was tired because these things are happening. He was just talking about the killings in Jos, and he said these things keep happening and there are not enough voice, and they have the platform because they are celebrities. And of course, when they drop a video there, they have like over 1,000, 2,000, what's the 1,000? With something 1,000, 500,000 viewers, watch their platform. So they said he was saying that if he can use his voice and spread it out so that they can get peace in Nigeria,
raising awareness.
Yes, to create awareness. So I think a lot of persons are tired of hanging on the fence. But the fact that it's my profession doesn't mean if I see something bad, I shouldn't say something. I understand that everyone wants to be professional, but sometimes it gets to you, like you become so emotional about it. Because if you are affected or your immediate family is affected by it, you won't even think about your profession. You will come outside.
But the truth about it, Ogochukwu, sometimes when you think about the stress, the strain of stress on an individual and of course the family in whom you're coming from. Because it's not just you they will drag every member of your family. So it's better people just, I don't have the energy.
How long are we going to keep doing? I don't have the energy for this. Can I please not talk about it because they will come for me and my family?
Oh God. Okay. But the truth is, people don't have the energy for stress, but at the same time, for as much as we want justice to be served, we want to air our voice. We just, like the lawyer has told you before, she just said it on the.
No, I'm talking about like hanging on the fence.
I know, hanging on the fence. Sometimes you just don't want issues for yourself because we know what it is in Nigeria. Once you come out and you say the truth, you know how it will drag and drag and drag. They might even rope you in the matter. So people just feel, let me just be on the fence. I'm not here. I'm not there. Let me just be on the fence to avoid trouble, because the truth is, once you are roped in this matter, something you know nothing about, you'll be roped in it, and people just want to avoid that and just live peacefully and just be quiet and just observe from afar, knowing the truth but not saying anything. I think it's much more better than being roped in an issue that they will drag your family member and tell you something that's happened in 20 years or 10 years and tell you, it's just unfortunate, but this is what it is, and that's the truth.
At this point, all I can say is God help us, because if you leave me, I'm going to say everything waiting, because it's really choking me, but let God help us, and everyone has to be professional, of course. Thank you so much, Jumai, for your contribution to this topic. As the conversation continues to grow around this case, the call for a more accountable and humane justice system becomes louder. Will stories like these finally trigger meaningful change, or will they fade into the background like many before them? Well, I am Ogochukwu Mobno, and this is where I leave you. I'll leave you in the hands of Jummai and we as they bring us into the discussion section of Global Morning. Good morning once again, Nigeria and the rest of the world. Bye for now.
When social media speaks, we listen and we bring you the extra. It's your one-stop shop for trends, tweets, and the tea everyone's sipping on. Join the conversation, share your thoughts, and get that extra dose of what's shaking the internet.
And on issues making wave on social media to your doorstep.
Social Buzz Extra, where the trend meets the talk, only on Global TV.
Wake up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Our language, our vibrant culture and colorful tradition, our industrious and hospitable people. This is Nigeria, a nation that prides itself in abundant human and natural resources. From east to west, north to south, we sparkle, we shine, we have a common bond. Fellow Nigerians, let's do away with ethnic, religious and regional sentiments that divide us as a people. God has blessed us and empowered us to find strength in diversity. Let's make our faith and way of worship our source of unity as we build our nation that stays united. Nigeria, together today, together always. This is a public announcement brought to you by Global Television.
At Witchtech Cables, we don't just make cables, we deliver excellence. Our products are built with advanced technology, trusted for their unmatched quality and durability. With a wide range of cables, swift delivery, and continuous innovation, we stay ahead of the market demand. We are proudly Nigerian, fully indigenous, yet world-class. Backed by a professional team, strong technical support, and a deep commitment to customer satisfaction. Witchtech Cables is more than a brand, it's a promise. Witchtech Cables, quality cables better than the best.
Want to stay ahead in Nigeria's fast-moving economy? Tune in to Business Point with Kikelomo Okere on Global Television, a program that examines the Nigerian economy and explores government policies shaping growth and development. From market trends and investment opportunities, in-depth discussions on economic policies, Business Point brings you the insights you need to understand how Nigeria's economy affects businesses and everyday life. Watch Business Point every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 p.m. West African time, exclusively on Global Television, channel 365 on DSTV and 276 on Star Times. Business Point, your window into Nigeria's economy and policies.
let's go on to talk about politics a little further this morning with the defection of former governor of Kano State, Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, into the ADC, which, of course, the ADC readily embraced him with warmth and a lot of celebration yesterday in Kano State. With that already in the bag now, it means not just the 2027 general election, but, of course, the political atmosphere has changed for at least a long time to come. But that also raises questions as to what now happens to the NNPP where he has left, because we understand that not everybody moved with him as expected. But what will now happen to that party going forward, with the leader of the party moving with the march of the supporters of the NNPP? Well, I'm very sure it simply means redefinition of our political landscape right now. Because if you remember, a while back there was the talk that President Bola Tinubu was likely going to wield that his political wand to bring Mr. Kwankwaso into the APC, which would have meant a whole lot of plus for the party. But apparently that hasn't happened. Instead, he has looked in a different direction, in this case the ADC, which simply means that the APC will have to now find a way to be at least a step ahead of the ADC in Kano.
Yes.
A state that before now had been called NNPP state is beginning to look like is turning out to be an ADC state.
Yes, it is.
What do you say to those in the APC?
What I would say to those
What do you say to those in the APC? Because it means that the whole thing has changed very dramatically right now.
Yes, it has. So they have to bring in their A game when it comes to trying to create that balance. Of course, we've always known that Kano State has always been an NPC state because of course, His Excellency Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso. But now that he has moved, not everyone has, tilted towards the ADC. So they have a big one coming, so they have to bring in their A game at this point to see whether, well, let's see what Kano will bring, whether they're for APC or ADC.
Well, it's quite an interesting conversation to
yes,
have.
It is.
But correspondent in Kano, Idris Jibril, was at the defection ceremony, the official defection of Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso yesterday, and he brought us highlights from that event.
The defection ceremony, which drew significant political attention, marks a major shift in Nigeria's evolving political landscape ahead of the 2027 general elections. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, a former governor of Kano State and influential northern politician, says he joins the ADC amid ongoing realignment among opposition leaders seeking to strengthen their political base.
Let me also, on behalf of all of us, thank Almighty Allah for showing us this very historic day. The day when, with your permission, we decided collectively to join the ADC. I'm so happy today that I have collected my membership card. Advising all of you to go back and immediately register.
At the event, National Chairman of the party, David Mark, described Kwankwaso's entry into the party as a significant boost, expressing confidence that his experience and political structure would contribute to party's growth. Political analysts say the move could reshape alliances and influence voter dynamics in the coming electoral cycles. More reactions are expected in the coming days as stakeholders across party lines respond to this development. Those in attendance at the reception were former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi and former Sokoto State Governor Aminu Tambuwal, both of whom reaffirmed their commitment to building a stronger coalition within the ADC. From Kano, Idris Jibrin, Global Television News.
Idris, as always, we can never pretend not to notice your brilliance when it comes to reporting on issues like this. Thank you so very much. But you see, thing is, politicians know how to connect and reconnect when the time comes. You see the way Rotimi Chibike, former governor of River State, is seated as if he was born, raised, bred and buttered in Kano.
That was one of my observations. I said,
right. So this man has been a Kano man the whole time. We didn't even know it. But that's politics for you. And that's how politicians carry on, especially around this electionary period where everybody is putting in all they have to ensure that their voices are heard and their political ambitions are realized. At some point, I think some of these gentlemen in the ADC would probably tell themselves, look, I may want to be president, but even if I do not get it, our party, in this case the ADC, must be seen to have done its best to put its money where its mouth is and things like that. But as it stands today, there's the speculation that it's likely going to end up an Obi Kwankwaso ticket. In which case, apparently, the idea is to say, look, Obi will emerge as or if you like, nominated or consensus will pick him as the flag bearer for the presidency, while Mr. Kwankwaso will run with him as a vice. But whatever the case may be, I think the ADC by now should already have understood the work that is cut out for it, because the APC, as we know, will not just fold its arms and watch you ride roughshod over them, politically speaking, because at the end of the day, the APC is not just only the ruling party, it also wants to retain power into and beyond 2027. So ADC must understand that that is not going to be a walk in the park.
No, it's not a walk in the park. It's going to take a lot of strategy. It's going to take a lot of reinforcement.
Right.
And, bringing in their A game when it comes to this issue. And of course, this is a big deal for the ADC. For them, with the former governor of Kano State, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, in the ADC, in their minds, they know that this election is smooth sail. But as like I always say, you cannot predict politics. You cannot predict politicians. You don't know what can happen. If a little bit of internal crisis between who is going to hold the presidential ticket in the ADC will cause this tussle or a fraction in the ADC. We had a guest here on Good Morning that said there is an internal crisis in the ADC. Speculations, we don't know. But at the same time, it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of cooperation. It's going to take a lot of, strategic planning if you really want to aim at the 2027 election. Of course, we know the APC is the ruling party and they have a role to play when it comes to having an edge in some aspects and some areas. You and I know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, this is taking a different turn now. And we just have to not really fold our hands, but just sit back and see what this will bring in the nearest future. But at the same time, this is something that is going to give each and every individual a run for its money when it comes to this particular issue, and everyone has to really bring in their A game if they really want to rule in 2027.
There's no other way to it, because at the end of the day, they say politics is local, and then of course politics is also about numbers. And the reason you see not too long ago we've had e-registration by political parties, which is mandated by the Electoral Act, enforced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Because politicians and political parties understand, like everyone else, or maybe better than everyone else, that look, you must have the numbers, all right? And that's why they say you can only rig election, even if that's your goal, in places where you're popular. So if you're not popular in a location, in an environment, in a place, there's no way you're rigging election in such places, because you don't have popularity. And it's also the reason political parties want to be as popular as possible. And they go to any length to do that, even if it means manipulating the people or using some sort of dark strategies to achieve that, because they know that with popularity, the work becomes easier and easier.
Yes,
and in 2027, numbers will matter a lot.
But you know what, I'm just curious though. We know why some governors have actually defected to some of the APC, the ruling party. But I'm curious, why did former governor of Kano State, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, defect from NNPC to ADC? What do you think they must have? Why have they managed to convince him? What's the edge in all of this? I'm just curious. I'm sure most Nigerians are wondering. We've not heard of anything. What was the offer? With NNPC, everything was smooth sail. We've not heard of any internal crisis. Everything has been done and dusted, of course. But what must have been the offer, do you think?
You see, I can't sit here and pretend like I know what was offered him. I've never been a member of any political party.
I'm just curious.
I'm not. I don't have access to the former governor, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso, so I can't even tell you what his thinking is like. But one thing we have seen about him is that he's, to say he's politically savvy, he's understating the obvious. What else? Times are changing. All of the dynamics are not the same. Again, in Kano, the governor, he's, if you like, estranged political beneficiary, has moved from the NNPP to the ruling APC. And Juma, you and I cannot sit here and pretend we don't know how powerful governors are when it comes to politics, especially in places like Nigeria, right? So, as it stands today, Governor Abba Yusuf is the de facto strong man of Kano politics. Is the rallying point, at least, even if you don't agree that he's the leader of Kano politics, but at least it's the rallying point, is the sitting governor. Kano is not just a big state, Kano is a pivotal state, Kano is a strategic state, Kano is a determining factor in Nigerian politics and elections. Therefore, the governor becomes more like the clearinghouse, right? But how do you ensure that a gentleman like Kwankwaso does not go into a extinction, I should say, with regards to the politics of that state? So he must rethink his strategy. He must rework and reinvent himself. All right. By doing that, he probably realizes that we have to think beyond the walls and borders of the new Nigeria People's Party, the NNPP. Therefore, what did he resolve to do? He probably not told himself, look, this ADC thing is something we probably need to consider. And then he either reaches out to the party, the ADC, or the ADC reaches out to him. They come to a round table, they put their cards on the table, they discuss specifics, terms and conditions, offers and counter offers, negotiations, as we always know in politics, and everybody's incentivized in some way or another, and then they reach a compromise to say, look, we can go forward with this deal. And on that level, my politicians don't need to love themselves. They don't need to even agree on everything. They don't need to share faith. They'll be of same religion. They don't need to come from same region of the country. They just have to agree that we share a common vision, we have a common purpose, and therefore we can forge ahead with what we have agreed on. And that's where they are right now. And for Mr. Kwankwaso, two things are very pivotal. The first is I must retain my leadership of Kano politics regardless of which political party is in power. And of course, going forward, it must be my political party that produces the next governor. The second is how do I stay relevant with regards to the bigger picture, which is the Nigerian politics? Yes, I may end up not being president. There must be a determining factor, especially as it has to do with Kano and by extension the northern part of the country when it comes to determining who becomes president, who are those we must go to if we must become president in Nigeria. So for politicians most times, so that's why when I hear things like, the man has a lot of money, so wealthy, so rich, he's so accomplished, what is he still doing? Why is he so into this politics thing? You see, for politicians, it's not so much about their bank account balances. It's not so much about what positions they've held already in the past. It's not so much about all the flashy things. It's about staying relevant, becoming a factor. I mean, a force that must be recognized. So it's not, they want to be the go-to guy. Juma must come to me to be a senator. She must consult me to be governor. In fact, for her to even show her interest, indicate interest in becoming governor of the state, she's got to talk to me. Yes. That gives them that sense of exactly. That's I matter. I can't be ignored.
It matters when it comes to Nigerian politics.
That's right. You see,
I completely.
And that's the reason you see that even Governor, for example, the gentleman who stood for election on the platform of the APC in 2023, we understand it will likely go join Kwankwaso in ADC in the days ahead. And if, with a big if that was to happen, it means that the politics of Kano State has tilted very, very significantly.
Yes, it has.
And with that sort of reality, with the politics of that state, it means the incumbent governor just doesn't have to be concerned. He's got to be scared because the numbers will be in favor of the ADC at that point in time. Now, we understand that Mr. Gawuna is a guy who enjoys so much of love and support from the Kano people.
Yes.
Right. And if that's the case, you add it to the ADC force, the Kwankwaso movement, I'm not going to tell you what the outcome will likely be. You won't hear it from me, I promise you.
No, I won't hear it from you. But let's just wait and see what this brings. Everyone is just expecting to see what it brings. Everyone is anxious to see what it brings. But of course, strategies will be put in place. Everyone has a lot of homework to do when it comes to this issue. But at the long run, let the best man win.
The best man has got to win, at least in the interest of Nigeria. And that's why it's also very important to continue to enlighten our people regarding not just how to go vote on election days, but how to also understand the way political parties work, right? Because at the end of the day, it is the people who have been presented by these political parties that will eventually lead Nigeria and Nigerians from bottom to top. Therefore, it matters how political parties manage themselves. How do they manage their differences? How do they, what kind of mechanisms do they roll out when they have internal crisis or internal random is very important. Because I personally believe, and just this past weekend, I realized that it's the same way most Nigerians think, that if a political party cannot manage its own differences, cannot manage its internal affairs, how then can such a political party convince Nigerians that they can lead, whether at the local, subnational, or even the national level? It's very important. And that's one of the things dogging Peter Obi right now. Because, you know, Wiki highlighted something at their convention on Sunday. You don't have to like Wiki, you don't have to dislike Peter Obi, and vice versa, to realize that it is what it is. What he said was that Peter Obi is only hustling, not to say that was not his word, but that was the import of his remark, hustling for tickets. You had been in ABGA, you won election in ABGA, became governor twice on the platform of ABGA, you moved to the PDP. You left PDP in 2022 and came to the Labour Party where you got the ticket. On account of the obedient movement, the Peter Obi factor, there was so much of full value around that election. We saw people came out en masse to register to get PVCs, came out to vote. We saw people who never would have come any close to political power become members of House of Assembly, become members of the House of Representatives, quite a number of them. We saw senators, at least I have one senator from my state, who won election for the first time in his life, all right, on the platform of the Labour Party, going on to become a senator, even though he has now also defected to the APC. That's not a story we're going to tell today. In fact, on account of Peter Obi's influence, Labour Party produced a governor yet again. I say yet again because they had also produced one in Ondo some years ago. That was in 2008, 2009, talking about former Governor Mimiko. But again, Mr. Mimiko moved and joined PDP at that time. But coming back to Obi States, Alex Otti became governor in 2023 because of the Peter Obi factor. But now, Peter Obi has left all of these people and moved to the ADC. So for a guy like Nyesom Wike, how do you ensure, how do you convince people you can provide them leadership if you keep hopping from one political party to another?
Exactly.
Wike's point is, you don't leave a party, you don't abandon a party, you don't jump ship politically just because a party has crisis. You've got that's the best time to show leadership.
Exactly.
All right, and fix it. You may not be able to even, but let the records show that you did what any right thinking committed leader would have done under such circumstances. After all, the Labour Party had already been in existence long before you joined. If everybody had let in such conditions, for example, would you have had the Labour Party to become a member of, or on whose platform you would have been able to emerge as presidential candidate? Therefore, the question arises as to what happens if the ADC were to also have its own crisis, maybe not necessarily of the same exact magnitude as we have seen with the Labour, but what if there were to be internal conflict within the ADC? Would you also jump ship? So these are some of the issues that will shape the narrative in 2027, and it gives me some sort of excitement knowing that Nigerians are more aware these days. They are more focused on the issues. For example, I was looking at certain commentaries on X, the one we used to call Twitter back in the day, and you see how people are saying that, look, we're tired of you condemning the killings here, the abductions there. We want to see action. We want to see a government that not only understands how bad insecurity is in our country today, but a government that has got results to show for the work it is doing, or at least has done, in terms of ensuring that insecurity becomes a thing of the past in our country. Otherwise, we are going to end up having a country where it is not even possible to conduct elections, for example, and that's the last thing we want for our dear nation.
Of course, that's the last thing. And insecurity, like I said, that something that has been here for 16 to 17 years is a big deal. We've not been able to nip this in the bud, and we've not been able to go forward way past this. Now, look at what is happening in just at the moment. And individuals who went for a wedding and then they were abducted and some killed. It's just unfortunate that this is where we are, but really, I like the fact that Nigerians are now beginning to, be aware, and they're now aware that it's not all about electing someone there, but he has a big role to play in solving some of the issues in which we are faced with in Nigeria, and of course, as Nigerians. It's a lot, but hopefully the needful is done. And of course, we as Nigerians need to play our part. We saw what happened during the AMAC election. I always refer back to that because Nigerians didn't come out in their mass to actually vote. People are tired and they feel it's not about staying in your own comfort, and then you come out and you say they need to do this administration of this electoral body or the party, you criticize and condemn, and at the long run, when it's time to vote, you are not present and your presence is not seen there. No, you have to come out to vote. That is where our power is. That is where we can tell truth to power who we want to be the next president of Nigeria, to make a difference when it comes to issues that are pending. So it's unfortunate that we have a lot to do. It's a two-party thing. I think a balance needs to be placed, and just need to come out to vote in order to get the right man for the job.
Recently, it was just a few days ago, in the course of the week, there was the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joshua Mukweto, highlighted two concerns going into 2027 election. All right, the first was the issue of voter apathy, which you already mentioned in passing. Of course, we saw that play out very palpable, all right, on a very palpable scale in the course of this area council election, right? The second concern you expressed was around violence, right? You can't have this twin evil, as I'd like to refer to it, and think or expect you can have an election or electoral outcome that is impressive. Because first of all, if you have voter apathy, it means people are not coming out to vote in their numbers. It means you have just a handful of people. So you can have, for example, in a particular election cycle where you have 4 million registered voters, only maybe 700 come out to vote, which is abysmal. So you are asking yourself, whatever happened to 3.3 million other voters? It's not like they're dead. It's not like they're out of the country. It's not like they suddenly do not have their PVCs anymore. So what exactly? If you look at the way we've conducted elections since 1999, you realize that on some, yes, we've made some progress. You can't take away from that. Technology, awareness, inclusive participation. We've seen quite a lot on that front. But you're also asking yourself, can we say participation in elections has improved, or even in democracy overall, when you have the number of people who have registered to vote heading in one direction, right? And those who actually come out real time to cast their votes heading in a different direction altogether, right? So how you see that? We always see less and less people with every election cycle coming out to vote. Is it because they don't feel safe? Is it because they do not repose confidence in INEC or public institutions generally? Is it because they feel their votes will not count? We must ask ourselves those questions. We must also find the courage. We must man up to tell ourselves the truth. If I know my vote will not count, if I were to be persuaded beyond all doubt, my vote will not count, the chances that you can get me to come out and vote for whoever is in the ballots, it may be 1 to 100, which is near impossibility, right? So how do we incentivize voting? How do we make it such that people are looking forward to election day? Not because Juma is going to give them the bag of salt, or he's going to give them the bag of rice, or you're going to hand them some sort of cash rewards when they are done. No, because they know that when I vote, it will influence the election outcome. Yes. Very legitimately. All right. So we must now ensure that patriotism starts with whether or not people cast their vote. So we can now determine whether we are patriotic people on account of how we vote. But you can't do that with this kind of culture that we've created over time, where you're having highest bidder carries the day. Party A is offering 5,000 for votes. They say, no, Party B is offering 10,000. Why should I vote for Party A when I can get twice that amount? Exactly. They say, no, Party C is even better. They're doing 25,000. In fact, they will throw a party in the evening of election or on the eve of election. Plus 25,000. Who do you vote for? So, this sort of satanic offers, all right, damage our electoral process, and we see that damage playing out in ways that are remarkably significant, and we can't continue in this kind of culture.
We cannot continue in this kind of culture. Well said, and you know what will give an individual, a Nigerian, that joy of coming out to cast his or her vote is when the individual understands that there is accountability, there is transparency and credibility when it comes to his or her vote. At the long run, I have casted my vote and so many other Nigerians in support of this individual, and this individual emerges as winner. It goes a long way, that joy, that satisfaction. But like I said, it's all about the mindset now. They say, whatever I do, even if I come out and vote, they already know who the winner is. You've heard that from individuals. They already know they already know who's going to be the president. They already know. So why should I even bother? Not knowing that your vote is your power. Try it out and see. I know a lot of people are discouraged. Talking about individuals who are 70 plus years old, we tell you, these generations or these individuals that are here, they do not know what it means to give that honor, the integrity when it comes to voting and bringing in the right candidate who has emerged as winner. A lot of controversies around all of that, but at the long run, I think we should keep trying when it comes to this issue of election, when it comes to this issue of vote, when it comes to this issue of patriotism. It goes a long way as an individual. For as much as we are now awake, awoke when it comes to this particular issue, and unfortunately so that the world has evolved. I think we are way past the way we conduct elections in Nigeria. Let's bring something different. I hope, of course, the INEC chairman, Joshua Mupito, will bring a new revival when it comes to this. We should look at the e-transmission. I think it will go a long way where you and I can actually monitor and see our votes being run instead of in countries abroad. That is how you know who is going to emerge with or not. It's there. The numbers are there. You see the numbers, and it's not tampered with. So I think we have a long way to go when it comes to electoral process in Nigeria. I think we have a lot of work to do when it comes to our election votes being free, credible, and transparent. We have a lot to do in creating that awareness. We have a lot to do when it comes to that conviction to an individual that, hey, come out and vote, your vote counts. I think we have a lot to do in that area. We
do. And we must now begin to also ask ourselves questions around how we invest in our electoral process, right? One of the things we saw at the twilight of these if you like, legislative debates around the 2026 electoral acts was the issue of transmission of results, the vote. Should it be electronic, should it be manual, or should it be hybrid? That's a combination of manual and electronic. And I've spoken to extremely brilliant people, not just in politics, but in election technology. They said that, look, what Nigeria should be working towards is not even how to transmit results, whether electronically or otherwise. It should be about electronic voting, not just transmission, because transmission, they say, is only a segment, like it's only a part of the process, all right? Automate the entire process in such a way that right from where Juma and we cast their votes is electronic already, right? So you've got to need the technology to drive that process. However, what politicians have been telling us the whole time is we do not have the technology to do this with low capacity and so on and so forth, which is really not true. But again, we didn't have all the luxury of time to go into the complexities of that conversation. Because how do you explain to me that the same politicians are the one, while in their villages, remote villages, not even in the cities within their states or their home states, they are able to join live television broadcast via Zoom, via Skype, via whatever platform from their own villages, not from the state capital in their home states. Their villages, they are able to join a smooth picture sound clean. You see, it's not a problem of whether you have the technology or not. It's a problem of the thinking. It's a problem of the intention. It's a problem of whether or not you have the sincerity or purpose to do it. It's a problem of whether you love the country or not enough to want to see that happen. For example, the executives of the telecoms companies in this country came out recently to say, look, we have the network. We have the resources, we have the infrastructure.
We have what it takes.
So is government responding to that? Is INEC responding to that? Are legislators at the federal level, reps and senate, responding to that? That will not serve their interest. So there's quite frankly the reality that we have people on the ground, politicians, most part of the political class, not wanting a system that automates election, automates voting, because they know if that happens, their chances do not even exist, not very slim. All right, so they're asking themselves every other day, what increases my chances? If we go digital, if we automate the entire process, what are the odds I win the election? All right, am I popular enough? Do people love me enough to cast their votes for me? So why don't we just continue this manual thing until we can transmit electronically? That way we still have a window of opportunity. So if you like, we can fiddle with the process. I don't want to say read the process. We can fiddle with it, and things like that. But you see, when we do that, we are shortchanging ourselves. We are underselling ourselves, and in the end, it is indeed Nigeria and Nigerians who pay the price.
Yes, indeed, it is Nigerians that pay the price, and it's just unfortunate that in this whole electoral process, we have gone way past this particular method. We're way past this method. Like, we can do much more. The world has evolved, like seriously, and we're still back. We're still in the same process. We're not moving forward, we're not moving back, we're just in the middle. And it tells a lot about what is going on when it comes to electoral process. It tells a lot when it comes to moving forward as a country. It tells a lot about, what it entails for you to cast your vote and the weight in which it holds you on. It's just unfortunate that this is what it is. I think a lot needs to be done when it comes to that. A whole new reformation needs to really, a whole new reform when it comes to electoral process, so that people can actually have that hope and understand that, hey, my vote truly counts, my vote makes a difference, and there's no lacuna when it comes to this particular issue. It's better we nip it in the bud as soon as possible, because a lot of individuals are really tired. Nigerians are tired, and that is why you see Japa is on the rise by hook or by crook, because we feel we have a failed system. The system is not moving forward, and we're just there, and a lot needs to be done. But at the same time, it takes you and I, and it's not just one person. It's not one person that should gain and enjoy all of these things. No, it's Nigerians, and the way you build Nigeria for national development tells a lot and goes a long way.
It does, of course, right. We're taking a break, everyone. At this point, when we return, I will look at a couple of other big stories for you. Please stay with us.
In an age of breaking news, you need a trusted source that prioritizes accurate, factual, and unbiased reporting. This is AM News, and I am Ubong Usoro.
On global television, our news is rooted in verified and authoritative storytelling that keeps you educated, informed, and enlightened on all the issues that matter to you. I am Sadia Yakubu. This is Midday News.
You can trust our multi-platform news broadcast real-time and fast-check stories for all the big local and foreign headlines round the clock. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. This is News Express.
Our array of anchors delivers the news to our teeming viewers, breaking it down with context and perspective. This is News Cycle on Global Television. I am Anieti Patrick.
And the flagship news is your hub for the day's most engaging stories. This is News Prime, and I am Jumai Manson.
Did you miss any of our news rounds? No worries. Catch up at 10 p.m. and midnight, 7 days of the week. I am Mukhtar Kasim.
Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. We're active across all social media platforms at Global TV NG.
Global TV News, accurate and unbiased. I'm Uyi Agmofwebe.
Up with Global Morning, your daily guide to what's happening and making the rounds.
We delve into headlines, newspaper reviews, spot-on analysis, policies, current events, real talk, real issues that affect us all.
From the latest trends to the debate, every topic, every angle, Global Morning is where it all starts.
Global Morning,
For the latest issues,
always on point.
Watch Global Morning Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at 8 a.m. on Global Television.
Now we're hearing that India will begin its census tomorrow, being Wednesday, the 1st of April. So whilst our part of the world will be busy catching fun, playing April Fool's Day, India will be investing or invested in population, enumeration, as they call it, across the country. Now, India is a country of about 1.4 billion people. Now, you have to slow down a little when you say that, because that's about 6 times, or at least well over 5 times, the population of Nigeria, and that is not a number you want to play with, all right? India had a general election in 2024. It was the biggest electoral event in that country in history ever. But India is also dealing with quite a number of issues. They have shortages in water, in housing, electricity, and what have you. And of course, the numbers are high. But again, you can understand, given the population of the country, all right? And then you also now realize that for the most part, India's mega cities are overflowing with slums now. And you have to deal with that in the face of, climate change and all of the environmental issues that the world is faced with. And then in the case of India, they also have to deal with the caste system. They have to do with all of the disparity within the Hindu arrangements, if you like, and things like that. So, like most of the part of the world, like Nigeria, India also has a fair share, maybe a little more than a fair share of its own problems to deal with. But here's the thing. Population is good. Population is strategic. It has economic, social, political, and several other implications with it. Incidentally, back at home in Nigeria, we last had census 20 years ago. That's been a long time. That was in 2006, right? So the question is, how have we been able to track population numbers in the last 2 decades? I'm not so sure of that. At least I don't have a background in statistics. But you now realize that we are lost so much as a country on account of not keeping track of numbers. I mean, tracking our population. We just say today we're 210 million. The day that follows, we are 237 million. Then, for those who are not comfortable with those figures, they say, well, we are 190 whatever million people. So the question is, what is the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, telling us about our population as a country? What are the demographic, if you like, brackets, okay? Because you're supposed to have, for example, people between ages 0 to 9, this number, ages 10 to 16, this number, ages 17, demographics. Then you talk about, for example, death records. You don't have all of those, for example, unless when somebody dies, you have to collect death certificates so you can process access into their estates is quite a challenge we're dealing with.
It's
in that regard. And then it's also interesting that by the time we're having census now, or population enumeration, you now start seeing political interest. One state is having so many people for whatever reason, the other state is having far less. People are trying to influence the figures for regional and, well, personal benefits, and things like that. So it's quite complex. Just when, before former President Buhari, God rest his soul, left office, we made an attempt at population enumeration, census as they often call it. That didn't work, yet so much money in several billions had gone into that already. So the question is, by the time we come around to say, okay, now it's time for us to have our census, are we going to find a way to, as it were, deploy those funds and other valuable resources into the exercise, or are we going to go back and begin from scratch? You see, if you keep missing it with census, Juma, you can't plan. So you may just have Ministry of Budget and National Planning, you may have your Ministry of Finance, you may have your National Bureau of Statistics, but the question is, will there be a interagency collaboration amongst them to be able to drive planning for the country? Planning is not just having an agency or ministry for it. It's actually understanding the composition, so to speak, of your population, so you can better plan for those in the rural areas, those in the urban areas. Just the same way we try to track, for instance, the factors driving rural-urban migration. Why do people keep coming from the hinterlands, from the suburbs, from the villages, so to speak, into the city? Why can't they stay in the city? That even government can answer that question, because an attempt to sincerely and honestly answer that question by government will also now indict government. Because if you give people power, you give them electricity, you give them light, you give them pipe-on water, you give them education, functional healthcare, you give them markets in those places, the chances that they will have the urge or the tendency to come to the city
very slim.
Very slim. Because all of the things that would have incentivized the idea of moving into the city would have been provided for them where they are. But because government is not doing that, they realize that, okay, well, since Juma is not in the city and she's shining, last time I saw on TV she was looking great, I think the city is where to go. And everybody hits the road one at a time. Look at Abuja today. Was Abuja this-populated Juma 5-10 years ago? I don't want to talk about Lagos because that will be very overwhelming.
Yes.
At the point we saw how Lagos was 11 million people, later 19 million, later it jumps over 20. And today the numbers just keep expanding every other day. So here we are.
I know what I think we need to be very intentional with things like this because, the census, like we said, the numbers really matter. It helps you to plan. Look at India, for instance. They have a lot of challenges when it comes to, we mentioned a few, unemployment, electricity. They have bad, porous drainage systems. But they are very intentional when it comes to remuneration. And look at what they are doing now. They say it's going to be in phases, different, and it's going to be door to door in order to get the accurate
for 1 year period.
For 1 year period. What does that tell you, Uyi? They want to plan to at least, if not completely wipe out poverty, because that is what is on the rise now, but at least to douse it to a certain level that it will be better than where they used to be. And it's very important that we have this at the back of our minds that, knowing the data of population is very important. But as much as it helps you to plan, in order to help you to understand why this is, and to make better where these individuals are coming from, in order not to add more numbers to where you're trying to curtail and all of that, it makes a wide difference. I think we need to understand that 20 years is a long time. I remember in my program Inside Today, I spoke with one of my guests, and he's into tourists and all of that when it comes to the numbers, census, and he says, goodness, we don't have an accurate number when it comes to how many we are in Nigeria, and it is very sad. And that is why we are unable to move forward, because we have limitation in some areas. It doesn't help you to plan, it just makes you stagnant. People might think it's not important, we can just keep increasing the price, the numbers when it comes to individuals, or we can decrease. And you'll be surprised, you might say we are, for instance, 8 million in a particular place, you might be much more than that, or less than that. You just give numbers based on predictions, not doing your findings and doing your job. It's just unfortunate, but it helps to plan. It helps you to understand, like you said, the demographics of individuals, to know age range. Of course, death rates, we don't even have a population figure. We don't even have a database for that. But it's really unfortunate that we do not have that. And I think we need to learn from some countries who we are better than in a way. Look at Indians are here. They do businesses here. They are married to Nigerians. I know someone who is an Indian married to a Nigerian, and he's doing great in Nigeria. And these are countries that when it comes to resources, they're nowhere close to us. These are individuals, and it doesn't matter. I feel you're not an island. You can learn from these countries. It doesn't matter how big or how small you are. But I think we should take that into perception and understand that we can give ourselves a time frame in order to compile all this necessary data when it comes to the population census. Let's just give it a try. Once you start, it will yield some amount of fruit. I think it will go a long way in curtailing issues that we have in Nigeria.
Right. Incidentally, there's also the power of investing in the process of census, right? In the case of India, they're doing 3 million officials, all right, to carry out these exercise within a 1-year period. So they've broken the interfaces, they are clear on the timeline, all right? They have the hands, or if you like, the manpower to make it happen, so to avoid shortages. Will the process be perfect ultimately? Of course, the answer is capital letter no. Of course. But will India have been able to put necessary mechanisms or measures in place? The answer is capital letter yes. You see, the word he used was intentional, right? In the case of Nigeria, we do not seem to be intentional. In fact, in most cases, we are clearly far from being intentional altogether, because politicians are more about politics than they are about the people, about service, about good governance. For example, as it stands today, President Bola Tinubu has not been able to categorically and definitively convince Nigerians by placing the fight against insecurity above his 2027 ambition. And for Nigerians not to see that, it's a big problem. Yes, it is. You see, the president has said that, look, I'm giving out my entire salaries for my 4-year period as governor, as president, to soldiers and their wives or their spouses or their families and what have you. Amazing gesture, humanitarian move, quite commendable. But the question is, how much is the salary of President Bola Tinubu in 4 years? You see, we must break it down for our people to understand, so that there's context, there's perspective, and people don't fly with fake news. Now, that must have come from a place of thoughtful reflection to say, look, this is not just about my birthday and party and Juma and you wishing me the best of my birthday. That's great, but can we not do it low-key and focus on the mood of the nation? Energy crisis biting hard on Nigerians, the economy not friendly for Nigerians. Inflation. So these are challenges for our people. Yes. So how do we ensure that my birthday does not outshine or overshadow these issues that real people are dealing with real time in our country? So he says, for whatever it's worth, my salaries for my entire term I'm giving to to those who are in the armed forces and their families. Amazing. But how much does it come to? As it stands today, we understand, given statistics available, numbers available, information in public, that President Bola Tinubu's monthly salary is less than 300,000. As a matter of fact, approximately 293,000 naira. That's his basic salary. And most Nigerians will just look at me and wave with left hand. And it's understandable. But that is statutorily his basic salary. So if you put that together for 4 years, which is 48 months, how much does it come to? In all, Juma, it comes to approximately 14 million naira. So why did the president not include his allowances? Because that's what the real deal is. It's like what the legislators tell you, I'm giving my entire one-term salary to Juma. And everybody's jumping like, Juma is now a multi-millionaire overnight. But the question is, how much is his monthly salary? That's basic salary. So public officers or officials, whether elected or appointed, make a kill, so to speak, from allowances, because they get allowances for everything. When I mean everything, right? So having said that, the point is, should we be unnecessarily excited? I didn't say we should not be excited. Should we be unnecessarily excited about this? Again, it is approximately 14 million naira. For how many people? What's the number of the beneficiaries? We must ask ourselves. You see, politicians must not be telling Nigerians half-truth. They must tell Nigerians the whole truth. I don't think there's any reason the presidency should not have come out very clearly on behalf of the president to say, look, this is what the president earns. And as such, he has said that he's giving everything times 4 years to these people. But I'm very sure there are people in Lagos, individuals, private individuals, who can do far more than that for this monetary man. But again, this is the reason we must enlighten our people. Let them know exactly what this means, what the value is for those who are the intended beneficiaries of this otherwise commendable gesture by our dear president.
Okay. Yeah, you know, this for individuals out there.
At some point, we'll talk about what comes to you from this, really.
What do you mean?
Well, what comes to you from this gesture by the president?
No comment. Anyway, at the same time, we're looking at it, of course, it's a gesture, and it's well appreciated. Like I mentioned, there are other pressing issues when it comes to insecurity. I think he tilted towards that direction. I don't work with the president, but I think the gesture came because these individuals are the ones that have put their lines,
taking the brunt
when it comes to the fight against insurgency and security. They are in the forefront.
Right.
So he feels what he can do to this soldiers, you know, to at least for the families to understand that they are remembered and to know that their worth was not in vain, just to something that counts and reflects that, hey, we are thinking about them, because really, insurgency has taken a toll on Nigerian and various families. It has taken away fathers, it has taken away brothers, it has taken away, it has done a lot of harm in Nigeria. So for this gesture, I think we shouldn't just downplay it a bit. It's something big, because our fallen heroes, these individuals, the men in uniform, men and women who are in the war zone, are the ones that make you sleep with 2 eyes shut at night. It's not easy. And you say, okay, Joy, you're saying this because you understand the military and all of that. But at the same time, it's a gesture. I think we should applaud it, very importantly. And at the same time, I know we have lots of pressing issues in Nigeria, but it's one at a time. Let's try and solve one at a time. But remember, these individuals who have died in the cause of trying to fight insecurity have paid the ultimate price. And I think with this, it's just one of the ways in which you can actually give a sense of belonging to these families, to make them understand that, hey, remember the fight that your father fought to keep us safe at night and all of that. We might not have, I know we have a long way when it comes to the fight against insurgency, but at least there's been success stories, and we should give kudos to that. And if the president feels, hey, I think we should give all my salaries to these families, I think it's worth it.
It is worth it. So, well, quite a number of things we should be talking about as we begin to wind down on the show today, but we'll let you in on that right after this short break. Please do stay with us.
Hello and nice to have you with us once more. We expect the month of March to end on a high note weather-wise, as we have increased prospects of rains across most parts of the country. We expect thunderstorms to affect the northeast up to Borno and Yobe, down into Gombe, Bauchi, and much of the central states, where we expect ample rains around the Federal Capital Territory, southern Kaduna, and parts of Kogi into the southwest. Those are prospects of thunderstorms to the southern part of the country, with ample rains expected over the coastal parts of the south and parts of its inland areas. Cases of flash flooding are not unlikely over parts of the south, parts of the central state, speaking of the Federal Capital Territory and its environs. This rain should bring maximum temperatures down a little, giving relief from the heat that's been on the ground. That's it from here. Thank you for watching, and see you again.
Want to stay ahead in Nigeria's fast-moving economy? Tune in to Business Point with Kikelomo Okere on Global Television, a program that examines the Nigerian economy and explores government policies shaping growth and development. From market trends and investment opportunities, in-depth discussions on economic policies, Business Point brings you the insights you need to understand how Nigeria's economy affects businesses and everyday life. Watch Business Point every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2:30 p.m. West African time, exclusively on Global Television, Channel 365 on DSTV, and 276 on Star Times. Business Point, your window into Nigeria's economy and policies.
All right, you're welcome back, and it's Global Morning on Global Television, and we're still talking about matters arising. We're not politically now. Let's talk about the rain. Now, a lot of people will say, yes, rain is a blessing, but at the same time, a lot of people will say a lot of challenges that comes with the rain when it comes to flu known as catarrh, cold, cough, pneumonia if you don't cover yourself well. And how do you actually prevent yourself from all of that? And some might say it's an excuse to stay off work. It's an excuse to just call your boss and say, hello, I cannot come to work today because there is a very big flood in my area and there's no way I can move. But how do you protect yourself from the rainy season as a Nigerian? Just the common way of just staying protected when it comes to issues of cold, when it comes to issues of cough, when it comes to issues of pneumonia, when it comes to issues of, basically all those circumstances surrounding the rain that comes with the rain. And I'm going to put you on the spot. What have you done this morning? I know the rain drenched you this morning.
Indeed.
For the sake of our viewers,
I deserve empathy.
Yes, you do. Well, what were you able to do to keep yourself warm?
Well, I don't know. So first of all, I had to ensure the vehicle that brought me to work had its window shields wound up.
Okay.
Then what else did I have to do? I had to curl up in a small corner, all right? Under those circumstances, there was nothing much I could have done.
Yes.
And then what else? I got to work. I had to look for a corner where the ACs were not on, where there was a bit of warmth.
Yes, I saw that.
I did all of that. But I think that, yes, the government has not done what it should have done regarding our environment.
Yes.
Whether you talk about the roads, whether you talk about measures to control flooding, to address or tackle ecological problems, the government has failed. So we don't want to negotiate that. But on an individual level, what can you do? What can Jumai do? What can we do to be able to, stay safe, stay healthy, avoid sicknesses that come with this season? First of all, is to ensure that you have as much warmth as possible, especially on days when it rains very heavily, and then you stay indoors where possible. Of course, if you don't have to go to work, if you don't have to work on site, you can stay indoors for the most part of the day because it keeps you safe as against going out. Of course, you have to go out where and when it becomes essential, it becomes vital, becomes crucial for you to do so. Otherwise, the advice is stay indoor. And then also ensure that you stock up on emergencies, essentials, whatever that is, whether they have to do with food, whether they have to do with items of nutrition, or whatever it is. Ensure you have those, so you don't always have a reason to go out to a corner shop or even to the main market or something to purchase all of these things, all right? Because the rains will always be here. Juma, we can't determine when it rains, how it rains, for how long it rains, but we can plan around it in such a way that the rains do not distort our plans or even our health, which is very important. Then, of course, we must ensure that we keep our environments clean. You have to unclog or deseal water channels and all of that. Again, these are environmental issues, very important. I don't know where you live, but where I live, it's something you have to do.
Yeah, of course.
You've got to do that, all right? take responsibility for that. Again, you don't have to wait for government. And
funny enough, before you conclude,
right.
you forgot the most vital,
which is
being security cautious at that point. You know, in the course of the rain, I know for individuals, because of the hike in fuel now, a lot of people have decided not to drive. So they feel it's going to cost less if they
use public transport system.
So at the same time, keep all your, because a lot of people will be scrapping to go into a car, especially when you're like what happened to you now that you dropped your phone? Your phone was placed properly in your bag, or
that would never happen.
That would have never happened. You wouldn't have lost your phone this morning. I'm sorry about that, by the way.
Don't be asking for crowdfunding for me.
No, not at all. But at the same time, we need to be security cautious at that point.
And we have to take responsibility.
We have to take responsibility by keeping our gadgets. You know, I know, for us on Global Morning, where we have to keep in touch. Where are you? I'm sure that was why you held that phone in your hand. To know where are you at the point it's raining, just to keep in touch with your colleagues. But at the same time, please put it well. It might just fall off, or some individuals are just there to just take advantage or play a fast one. So for as much as you have said a lot when it comes to this issue of rain and how to keep yourself well knit, or will I say, well secured, and of course look at the causes and what comes with it. Beverages like tea, coffee, we go like pepper soup, my favorite. We go. I have to mention that, right? We'll go a long way when it comes to that, but it will not. We won't be doing justice if we do not mention when we said the environment is very important. How we know that rains comes with flood, and we know what it was last year, the upper year, where we spoke about Lokoja. You saw the individuals who complained about traveling, driving from Lokoja to Abuja, how flooded the whole place was. Individuals who were stuck on the road, they couldn't even move. And now that there's this construction that is ongoing there, so we do not know what that will bring. And of course, in places like Bayelsa, the flood and all of that, places like Lagos, where there are not enough drainage systems, it's going to play a lot. And of course, cracking dams because of the pressure of the rain. So we have a lot to do, and I think we've not done justice when it comes to curtailing all of that. Precautionary measures when it comes to holding on when it, with the rains and what it brings and all of that. So I think we have a long way to go when it comes to that issue, that particular issue.
And also need to ensure that while we are indoors, like we said, where that is the basically the option that you have to take off electrical appliances because of electric shocks and all of that, at least avoid any chance of electrocution. That's important. And then if you have to go out at all, also avoid flooded or areas that are prone to flooding. Very important. There's a sad incident I just find difficult to get off my head. It was in 2018 where a lady was said to be holding her child by the hand, and it was July of that year, I can't forget. Next thing you know is the floods come through and snatch the child away from the woman, washes the baby off, and it is 6-7 years down the line, not a word, maybe a little more than 7 years, all right? Not a word about our child, because it's a done deal, sadly. So we need to avoid such areas. And then whether you're home or you're out of the house, you've got to wear non-sleepers or shoes or whatever it is, because it's quite slippery this period.
Yes, it is.
For apparent reasons, right? And then
your raincoat.
Environments, right? You need to get an umbrella. Yes, you need to have that. I have one, by the way.
You have a raincoat?
I have a raincoat at home. I have an umbrella in the office.
Okay.
Yes.
I just have an umbrella.
We're born ready.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
You need to do that. And then, of course, if you drive, you should know that it's very easy for vehicles to skid off the road.
Yes.
This season, you've got to ensure that you watch your speed, your fog lights up and running, functional. And then realize that you drive for 3 persons. You drive for yourself, you drive for the guy in front of you, you drive for the lady behind you, all right? Otherwise, it's going to be very catastrophic in periods like this. And this is not the time to, of course, DUI, driving under the influence.
No, you shouldn't.
All right, so please, these are some things we can do to help ourselves this season.
And ensure your wiper is working when you come through for those.
You are going to need that all the time.
Very
all the time.
importantly, please, to just ensure that the road is clear and you can see clearly is very important. And we take all of these things for granted. These are the precautionary measures that we don't talk about much when it's not raining. We should put all of these things in place. So when it starts raining early enough, so when it starts raining, we don't have any cause for worry or, oh my goodness, I wish I did this or I could do. You should be, like Louis says, you should be born ready. Very important.
Of course, by all means. And as Australians who say, always arm yourself with your brodies as your umbrellas at every point in time. It may not solve all the problems, but it can save you a lot of inconvenience. It can keep
save you a lot of
can keep you dry, at least the upper part of your body, especially for those of you who have to go to work first in the morning, and then you have to look all touche and polished and shiny and classy, and then you have to be in front of the camera like Juma, for example. All right, so
why would you come out this
you have to do all of that. But in all, the rain is a blessing.
Yes,
we can't take it from that. I can assure you, there are people, especially those in the agricultural space, who have been waiting earnestly for the rains, and now eventually they are here, and they can't be grateful enough for it.
No, they cannot be grateful enough for it. Like I said, it's a blessing. Showers a blessing, I said. Although it came with this downpour today, but at the same time, showers of blessing, and we should be grateful. And for as much as a lot, it comes with a lot. It's you know, but we can learn to balance it all and make the best of it, and make the best of it. It's very important.
Very important, right?
Very, very important. It goes a long way.
It does.
Planning.
Yes, it does. And today's rain is just a reminder that we must be ready at all times. And for those who are into farming, those in the field of agriculture, this rain means a lot for them. Whether you're up north in Nigeria or you're somewhere down south, it does. And again, for a country like ours, by the way, Juma, that relies on a hydropower system. I mean, we have dams all over the place from where we generate electricity. You know, these rains are very important, because most times when we have a reduction in power supply, they say, well, in some cases, it is because the dams have dropped in terms of water volume. All right, which means we are earnestly waiting for the rains to kick in. And now the rains are here. We have to also be grateful for that. So even though, yes, we may have a bit of natural disaster here and there, because rivers will be over flooded, will run over, break banks and things like that. We need to know that at this point in time, it's not just so much about the volume of water, but about what we are doing as a country and as a government to ensure that while we are making the most of this blessing, we are also now taking time to put measures in place to ensure that this blessing does not become a curse. All right,
it doesn't elude us.
Right, of course. We need to ensure that, because again, we need to listen to NIMET, all right?
Very important.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency, because every now and then they put out advisories for government, for citizens, for airline companies, I mean for the aviation industry as a whole. We need to realize that it's not just for formality, all right? The information contained in those advisories is very vital. We don't want to take them for granted, and that's why we realize that sometimes under circumstances like this, during this kind of weather, flights are either cancelled outright or they are moved further, all right, just to ensure that there's visibility and flights move in weather conditions that are clement, as they say, that are favorable. And all of these we must do going forward. And we must also ensure that ecological problems are addressed during the dry season. For instance,
I always say precautionary measures.
Yes, you realize that
too much of that.
With regards to our gully issues.
We do not, and it's just unfortunate. And that's why we have so much disasters when it comes to flooding and all of that. Individuals losing their lives and properties because there are no precautionary. We didn't put precautionary measures in place to avoid all of that. It's just unfortunate.
You know, that was one of the points. We started having issues, Jumai, again, bordering on corruption between the federal and state governments, because there's supposed to be this counterpart funding, all right, between the federal and state governments with regards to efforts to tackle gully erosion. You go to many states, I don't know how much that is happening in the north, but when you go to the south, whether it's Anambra State you're going to, whether it's Edo, for example, you see so much of gully erosion around there. Some of them you can't even look into it. At a point, there was one that was on the fringes of my university within a campus. Incidentally, I didn't even know we had that until I had graduated. So when I got there with a professor from the Department of Environment, I was shocked to know that thing had been there for years before I even got into school. So the question is, who's going to take care of all of those? And you see them chopping off houses, farmlands over time. The next thing you know is, after a while, there's this high-rise or this two-story building that used to be here. It has been swallowed. There's this bungalow that used to be here. It has been swallowed. There's this church. There's this police station. So we need to deal with that. At the point, it became an issue of, well, the federal government has not brought its own counterpart funding. We have our own available. Governments were complaining, and later, governments were now even being accused of chopping these funds.
Exactly.
And today, gully erosion problems are on the increase in Nigeria, and nobody is being held accountable in terms of the funding, the monies that have been released, not just budgeted, released in real time to these states, governments or governors to deal with these issues. And today the people have to pay the price of that. When Oshiomhole became governor in my state, for example, he made quite sincerely efforts to deal with some of these issues. In fact, I know, for example, a part in Benin City metropolis where he had not only addressed the ecological problems 100%, he made the roads with water channels on both sides, sidewalks, street lights, and all of that. And it became such that, it just became a model to say that, look, if we can do it here, who says we cannot replicate it in other parts of the city and indeed in other states? And for me, that opened my eyes to realize that if government sincerely wants to pursue an initiative, a program, or roll out a project, it goes all the way out to achieve it. But when government wants to politic around an issue, it just continues to skirt around it until that government leaves office and the conversation continues to drag on.
Exactly. I think we have a lot to do when it comes to that area, but at the same time, the balance is very important, I always say, so that no one is to blame when it comes to this issue. Accountability, transparency, credibility goes a long way to create that balance for individuals to understand that they are individuals put in place to handle this aspect. And sometimes they just throw a blind eye, or because of what it will bring, or like your word that you said, chop. But at the same time, the needful should always be done, and people should be held accountable. Credibility is very important. It takes a man that has integrity to go all out to do what he is put in power to do. Very important.
So we can't get our eye on the ball, that's the point, all right? Whatever it is you've been voted or elected to do, or even appointed to do, please let's ensure that we stick with the script that serves the overall interest of our people. Incidentally, that's the full cycle here on Global Morning today. We can't appreciate you enough for taking our time to watch even in this rainy season. I'm Muya Mofobe saying we appreciate you.
And I am Jemai Manson. Thank you all so much for being a part of the program. And from we and I, we will say bye-bye.